Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really critical update to America's, its political operating system, the 20th Amendment. It's all about how we fixed a dangerous, months-long delay in the transfer of power. So this whole thing really boils down to one huge question, a question that hung over the U.S. for more than 140 years. I mean, just think about it. You elect a brand new leader to tackle a massive crisis, and then you just have to watch them sit on the sidelines, totally powerless for 4 entire months. And this wasn't just some what-if scenario. No, this long waiting period created real, tangible crises that put the whole nation at risk, and not just once, but twice. Okay, let's look at Abraham Lincoln. He gets elected in November 1860, and in the 4 months between his election and his inauguration, he had to just sit and watch as 7 states literally seceded from the Union. The country was tearing itself apart, and there was absolutely nothing he could legally do about it. You'd think we'd learn, right? But nope. Fast forward to 1932. The country is in the absolute depths of the Great Depression. The people elect Franklin D. Roosevelt with a mandate for action. But while banks were collapsing and people were losing everything, FDR was stuck, just waiting, completely unable to roll out his New Deal until March. So, you gotta be asking, why on earth did this dangerous gap even exist? Well, the answer comes down to something called the lame duck problem. You've probably heard the term lame duck, right? It's basically a politician who is still in office even though their replacement has already been elected. They still have all the power, but here's the kicker. They're not really accountable to the voters anymore. And believe me, the old system created a super long lame duck period. Now, to be fair, way back in the 18th century, this whole thing kind of made sense. I mean, it took forever for election results to get around, and even longer for the winners to wrap up their business and make the long, hard journey to the capital city. But by the 20th century, with trains and telegraphs, this old system was just, well, absurd. Get this, a new Congress, the one people just voted for in November, would have to wait a jaw-dropping 13 months before its first official meeting. That's more than a year of waiting for the people's will to actually mean something. So this crazy long delay, it created 2 massive dangers. First, you had these lame duck Congresses that were totally ineffective. They'd either get nothing done or just ran through a bunch of poorly thought out laws. But the second danger, whoa, that one was even scarier. It gave a ton of power to politicians the people had just voted to fire. And this is where it gets really wild. Imagine if no presidential candidate won a majority in the Electoral College. The vote would go to the House of Representatives, but not the new House people just elected, no. The old, lame duck House, filled with politicians the voters had literally just rejected, would get to choose the next president of the United States. It's crazy. Okay, so clearly something had to change, right? The whole calendar was broken. And the man who really led the charge to fix it was a senator from Nebraska named George Norris. And that solution, that fix, was the 20th Amendment. And you know what? It was ratified incredibly fast in 1933. Its whole purpose was simple. Hit the reset button on America's political clock and get rid of those dangerous gaps for good. And the fix itself? It was actually super clean and simple. The amendment just moved everything up. The new Congress would now start on January 3rd, and the president would take the oath of office on January 20th. Boom! Just like that, the risky lame duck period was cut way, way down. But wait, there's more. The amendment didn't just stop at changing dates. It also looked ahead, anticipated potential crises during that handover period, and built in a really critical constitutional safety net. What it did was lay out this crystal clear plan, a what-if for the presidency. So, what happens if the president-elect dies before they can take office? Simple. The vice president-elect becomes president. It took all the guesswork out of who's in charge during a national emergency. And this wasn't just them imagining worst-case scenarios. Just a few weeks after the amendment was passed, there was an assassination attempt on President-elect Roosevelt. Had it been successful, the 20th Amendment provided the exact roadmap they would have needed for a smooth, stable transfer of power, avoiding a total constitutional crisis. So, let's bring it all together. What's the real impact of this thing? Why does this little calendar change still matter so much to us today?
Well, for one thing, just look at the numbers. It took the presidential transition period and slashed it. What used to be a long, drawn out 16-week wait is now down to a much tighter, more focused 11 weeks.
So when you boil it all down, the legacy of the 20th Amendment is pretty huge. It makes our government way more responsive to what voters actually want. It lets new leaders get to work faster, especially during a crisis, and it basically gets rid of that useless and dangerous lame duck session. It just streamlines the whole transfer of power. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on. This amendment was designed for the world of 1933. But today, in our world of instant information, 24/7 news cycles, and complex global challenges, is an 11-week transition period still too long? It's something to think about.